What is up, everybody? It's your boy back at it again with another big body banger. Today we're going to be reacting to What If Germany Won World War II Part 1. It's from Alternate History Hub. We've checked out videos like this before, and a lot of people have different theories and whatnot. And I kind of wanted to see what this would be like, you know? Now, I am not the world's greatest historian ever, so I do have a lot of the events of major, events like that. Not really mixed up, but I only have, some of the details. I know the gist of everything, but it would be interesting to see what this person here thinks would have happened if Germany won. So if you guys are new to the channel, welcome. If you guys are returning viewers, welcome back. We post videos every single day. A lot of reactions, a lot of commentary, sometimes story time, sometimes, slices of our life or whatever. But if that interests you guys, go ahead and subscribe. Help the Bray Gang get to 1 million subscribers. And let's go ahead and diagnose deep into this thing and see exactly what we are working with, guys. Let's go.
Not only was it the most destructive conflict in human history, but it was the ultimate clash of ideologies and factions which had slowly evolved for centuries. In our timeline, after years of war, the Third Reich was obliterated, Hitler committed suicide, and a violent ideology died with him. In the aftermath, the victors, the Allies, organized the entire world in a manner which would never allow such an occurrence to happen again. They were able to shape mankind's future in their image. Today we are globalized, connected both economically and socially. The internet, American influence, all can be tied back to the victors of that war. The reason I say this is because many don't think about the world today in any other way than the natural evolution of progress. Yet it is not. If the war's outcome had been any different, Western civilization from every aspect of life would have been radically changed.
Oh, shit.
What if the Allies did not defeat Nazi Germany? What if in an alternate timeline, the Third Reich, through military might and conquest, conquered Europe and won World War II? I'm going to explore the effects of a Nazi victory on the human and global scale. How would it transform the 20th and 21st centuries? In American schools, Nazi imagery and teachings are only mentioned in brief generalizations. We all know Nazi policies were anti-Semitic, racist, authoritarian, etc., but rarely is the ideology itself analyzed. In this alternate scenario, I'm not going to specifically focus on what Germans could have done differently to have won the war. This has been debated by numerous historians. What I want to focus on is what such a world would look like if Hitler's plans were allowed to be put into action. Here is one scenario. In this alternate timeline, Nazi Germany has launched a successful invasion of Europe. Britain, France, Poland, the Eastern Soviet Union, and numerous other countries all have been occupied by German troops. Somehow Germany invaded Britain, and facing overwhelming odds, even though Churchill promised not to, the British are forced to surrender or be basically annihilated. In this alternate timeline, the Third Reich consolidates control over the new land it is occupied across the continent, making any effective American incursion impossible. At first,
Holy shit. That's insane. Actually, I think it's pretty, in a world, well, I guess in an alternate timeline where that's a thing, I'm not sure if they could. They're so small, bro. I'm not sure if they would be able to take over an entire world of people. World domination wouldn't be a thing, obviously. I don't think. I mean, I'm trying to see where this guy is going with all this, because I feel like it would just be Europe taking over pretty much. Like, this is...
First resistance movements would fight against the Germans and puppet fascists like in Vichy France and the UK, but after years of strengthening control over trade and resources, the Third Reich basically starves out any opposition. The Germans in our timeline, and in this alternate one, would massacre innocent civilians in retaliation for insurgency. With this tactic and low resources, resistance would fall pretty quickly. In the Soviet Union, the war between the Russians and Germans drags into a stalemate, eventually devolving into a resistance movement as the Russians are pushed back to the Urals. How this could have occurred, I'm not going to specify, but if the Nazis' plan succeeded, then the Soviet government is pushed further into Siberia.
So there's so many wars that would have had to been won for any of this to happen. Like, because there were a lot of different locations that shit was going down during World War II. So this would be very it would take a stroke of, like, I don't know, just some crazy, I don't know, like luck or something for them to literally win everything. Because obviously there was so much going on and different conditions and da-da-da. But obviously he's just, this guy, this alternate history hub is doing like the alternate path of what would have happened if, I guess Nazi Germany won the war and stuff, which is kind of crazy. It's just weird how, like, I mean, because he's not specifying a lot of stuff, it's kind of just like, oh, this might happen and this might. I don't know. It's
but
weird.
The bulk of the population is now under German control. Nazism cannot be registered on how we traditionally think on the political scale. It is an entirely new beast, one that takes elements from across the spectrum to reinvent society into something entirely new. Hitler's new order was to be a civilization that threw away centuries of Western teachings, including the ideas of the French Revolution, the Enlightenment, and Christianity. A civilization that bases everything on the spread and domination of a specific group, the Aryan race. To understand a world where the Germans won World War II, we need to understand the concepts of Nazism and their horrific ideas of racial superiority and classification. If Nazi Germany won the war, they would reorganize Europe based on racial hierarchies. Since eugenics was popular, the Nazis based their policies off of genetics and ranked people off of positive and supposed inferior genes.
That's fucked.
At the top was the Aryan race. Aryans to the Nazis were people of Germanic descent. This meant pure ethnic Germans had the highest status among the Nazi society. Just below true Aryans were Western Europeans, such as the British, Northern French, Irish, and Dutch. The Chinese and Japanese were also at this level, as Hitler declared them honorary Aryans. Below them were the...
What the hell? What the fuck? I did not know that at all. That's so fucking... What? That's weird as
Mediterranean race. Southern and Tanner Europeans such as Italians, Southern French, Spanish, and Greeks. Hitler believed Southern Europeans were naturally more lazy than the Northerners. This thought of Italian inferiority to Germans caused a lot of tension between Mussolini and Hitler. I'll talk about how this will play out later. Skipping past a few levels, at the very bottom were the Untermensch. These were racial groups the Nazis considered too inferior or dangerous to live. These were the Slavs, such as the Poles, Russians, and Ukrainians, Jews, Roma, homosexuals, communists, etc. In this alternate timeline, if Germany was able to successfully implement Lebensraum, after decades of German control, Poland, Russia, and the Eastern Slavs would cease to exist. The Slavic people of Eastern Europe would face a genocide 10 times larger than that of the Holocaust in our timeline, mass extermination in the tens of millions. Hitler was a fan of how the United States successfully depopulated and pushed back the American Indians, and so he wanted to recreate this against the Slavs.
What the fuck, dude? Holy shit. Yeah, this is insane. This is fucking crazy, dude. Actually, if you think about it, I didn't even realize, well, I did realize because America did it to the Native Americans here when they first got to this land and stuff like that, but it's so fucking crazy to me to see some shit like this. I mean, it just makes you wonder, like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, what exactly did we fucking prevent? Like, what did we prevent, you know? And like the ideology and stuff behind something this intense, it's fucking crazy to me. I didn't even realize, like, it was so disturbing that I didn't think to even look into what the ideology was behind Nazism. I mean, because I'm just like, okay, well, it's obviously bad, so what the fuck? But I didn't know it was this fucked up, dude. I mean, I knew it was like, I just knew that it was like an Aryan race thing. I didn't know they had a fucking chart, dude. Like a whole chart of, like, you know, who was, like they ranked people, basically. I just thought it was, if you're not Aryan, then that's it, you know? But they have like an entire, it's like the Family Guy melanin chart a little bit, but they have it like, you know, obviously based on race. It's so weird though, because they go off of like genetic superiority, da 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 da. But then, you know, I'm pretty sure you guys heard about the Olympics and stuff like that too, where I think Jesse Owens wound up winning, like I forgot, like it was like a race or something like that, and he's a black dude. And I mean, I'm pretty sure like Hitler was kind of pissed. I mean, he was pissed. He's like, what the hell? I feel like it's just crazy, bro. I mean, obviously there's far fewer people that think like this now. Like the amount of people that have this mentality are like a fighting small percentage. But This is insane. This is insane. I'm honestly at a loss of words, but holy fuck.
In this alternate timeline, following a German victory, borders are redrawn arbitrarily and governments are set up in what was formerly Poland, Ukraine, and the Russian states, now with German leaders. Slavs begin to lose rights, resistance is met with entire towns being slaughtered, and Jews are immediately sent into concentration camps, as they were to be automatically killed. The Slavic people were to become enslaved, and used as a mass labor force to contribute to the German war machine, and farm the land if need be. But first, most of the population would need to die. Laws are passed similar to Stalin's policies, causing mass starvation, and soon millions die in a massive famine. In our timeline, Hitler's plan was for over 50 million to die before colonization could begin. Over a period of a few years, once the natives no longer exist as a nation, German colonists begin moving and colonizing former Slavic lands. Germany as a country is quadrupled in size, expanding from France to the center of Russia. The few Slavs deemed acceptable for Germanization are forced to only have children with Germans to eventually breed out the Slavic genes. The culture of these lands would be
damn, that's fucked all the way up. That's insane. That's insane. How would they know, though? What the hell? How would they know who's sleeping with who? That's so fucking weird.
Destroyed and torched. History of the people forgotten under Nazi genocide. With the massive industrial scale of the Third Reich and resistance defeated, they could easily be capable of such an atrocity. The German school systems would teach young Germans the inferiority of the Slavs, creating a new racial divide between German Aryans and enslaved Slavic people. Very similar to situations in apartheid South Africa, racial segregation and outright atrocities would occur between German colonial masters and enslaved Russians in the Ukraine colonies. Slavs would be banned from reproducing except to create new slaves. In fact, across Nazi Germany, abortion would not only be legal, but mandatory for non-Aryans. It would remain illegal for Aryan mothers, as German women would be expected to reproduce as much as possible.
Holy shit. So it's actually it's fucked on both sides, actually. It's super... I mean, that's what a dictatorship is. That's fucking crazy. It's crazy. Sad as fuck. And definitely crazy. Something like that would never happen now, obviously. And something like that almost happened then. But like I said, with a war, it's all about, like, I think the smaller battles add to the entirety of a war, right? You have to win like every small battle for some shit like this to happen. And there's always wild anomalies that no one sees coming, that wind up dominating, or thwarting people's plans and shit like that. So this is fucked, dude. This is fucked. Could you imagine this? That shit is sad, man.
Mass sterilization would be enforced against parents who gave birth to unhealthy children, or kids born with Down syndrome or developmental illnesses. German colonists would farm the fertile lands of the Ukraine and use the vast breadbasket to feed a growing German population. If successful, Nazi Germany would redefine the demographics of Europe, and in a few decades, most of the population in Eastern Europe would be of German descent.
That's fucking crazy. So, meanwhile, overseas, you have America and stuff like that. So, I'm pretty sure it would get to the point where Germany would be the size of pretty much Russia, like, because if they conquer all that land around their country, because it says like Germany would have quadrupled in size. Pretty sure it would definitely be way bigger than even that. If they conquered like all the land around that as well, and so it would pretty much be like you have Russia, Germany, and then fucking America. America would just be like, oh shit, that's insane. That's fucking crazy. What the hell?
The New Order meant a complete reinvention of what it meant to be European and a member of Western civilization. Nazi Germany would be the leading dominant nation of Europe and be the puppet master to the countless fascist governments of the UK, France, Italy, and Spain. Even though propaganda would boast an equal union of European nations, in reality, some nations, even fascist ones, would be lower than others. Hitler's racial criteria would determine Nazi relationships, and so German policies would favor more Aryan nations like France and Britain over Mediterranean countries like Spain and Italy. In this alternate timeline, with the war over, the Nazis would immediately rebuild Britain, and fascist Britain would become the right-hand man to the Reich. As for the Italians, even in our timeline, Mussolini Mussolini knew the disdain Hitler had for Southern Europeans, and it greatly affected the relationship between the two. Mussolini's call for a unity between the Nordic and Mediterranean races fell on deaf ears for the Nazis. In this alternate timeline, I predict Hitler simply would have tolerated Southern Europe for the sake of stability, while playing favorites with the Nordic French and British.
I don't know, man. Hitler was crazy. I feel like he wouldn't even do that. That dude, he was breaking like treaties and agreements with countries left and right, man, during the war. So I highly doubt he would try to do anything just for the sake of stability. I don't know. You guys let me know what you think in the comments down below.
This split would grow even larger in the following decades, becoming a culture clash between the two regions. In our timeline, the Holocaust was only supposed to be the first phase of the New Order, immediate genocide of undesirables within German borders. However, these were not the only groups the Nazis wished to silence. Nazism at its core was shaped by the idea of a race united under the full allegiance to the state and only the state. Citizens were to contribute militarily and technologically to advance the German race. To Hitler and the Third Reich, any idea that took focus away from the state was an enemy. Removing the Jewish question was the first phase of the New Order. The Slavs were next, and after that, Catholicism itself, or the church question. Hitler was born a Catholic, but grew to hate the church as he became an adult. His views fell perfectly in line with the Nazi ideology. Nazism viewed Catholicism as not only an obstacle, but a threat to the progress of the German state. They despised—
Holy fuck, this dude is insane. God damn. I know how... And bro, what the heck, bro? What made him so fucking bitter?
The idea of a non-governmental force having influence over Europeans and Aryans. Before the war, Nazis closed Catholic institutions, barred Catholic messages, and arrested many members of the clergy. However, in part with his alliance with Italy and to stop instability, Hitler made a treaty with the Vatican to respect Catholic institutions. Yet to the Nazis, Catholics remained a prominent threat. In this alternate timeline after the war, the Nazis would immediately break the agreement with the Vatican. Across Germany and its occupied territories, Catholic institutions would be closed and its clergymen arrested. In Hitler's eyes, religion itself was fundamentally incompatible and dangerous to the progress of Europe. He even called those who were religious slaves. At the time, the Nazis had to put up a face of being Protestant Christians, but secretly, the highest ranks, like Joseph Goebbels, despised religion and Catholicism, yet they decided to postpone any action until after the war. They believed it was a foreign invention which promoted Jewry and made Europeans weak-minded and too merciful. Heinrich Himmler even wrote, "We live in an era of the ultimate conflict with Christianity. It is a part of the mission of the SS to give the German people in the next half-century the non-Christian ideological foundations on which to lead and shape their lives. This task does not consist solely in overcoming an ideological opponent, but must be accompanied at every step by a positive impetus. In this case, that means the reconstruction of the German heritage in the widest and most comprehensive sense. In this alternate timeline, the Third Reich would have used everything to slowly strangle Christianity in its borders. Propaganda to paint Catholics at first as enemies of Aryans and Germans, and even secret violence against Catholic leaders. The same tactics which divided Europeans just as they did between Slavs and Germans. Over the decades, Catholicism would be stripped from Nazi Germany. Most of the Catholic Poles would have been killed in the hunger policies. In German Catholic regions, simple Nazi propaganda would be used to snuff out the church. Laws banning Catholic education.
What the hell, bro? This is insane. This is too much to digest, man. What the fuck? Like, holy shit, man. So, like I said, what this basically looks like it's pointing at is like it would be a battle between, well, you'd have a collective superpower on one half of the world, and then America, and then so America would be like, it would dominate the western side of the world, obviously, and then like you have you know, Germany, which would have conquered all the countries around it and exterminated a lot of fucking people in this alternate timeline, which that would be insane. I mean, I know America's massive, so I'm not sure if we would still win against something like that. I'm pretty sure we would, but it would just be incredibly different. Well, it would be hard because we had allies that helped us out, you know, but That's insane, bro.
and press would be enacted. After the Catholic Church, the Third Reich would actively discourage Christianity itself, and if decades of propaganda would work, they could create a generation of loyal, non-Christian Germans. Nazis would teach that the religion was a destructive, brainwashing Jewish force which weakened native Europeans. Some Nazis even wished to replace Christianity with neo-paganism, but in this timeline, religion would be replaced with loyalty to the Nazi regime and to the race. The swastika would replace the cross across much of German Europe. This scenario is going to be a part of a new series. I don't know how many parts it will be, but I want to focus in detail on every aspect of life in this alternate scenario. I don't want to rush it. World War II was a defining moment that decided the history of Western civilization. In the Allied victory, Nazism was destroyed and never returned to power. But had the victory gone to Germany, the modern world would have evolved and taken a much darker turn. Over the next few videos, I'll explore in length one out of the infinite possible scenarios.
Well, I feel like this is under the assumption that there aren't going to be any uprisings. Any secret plots, anything like that, you know, that's under the assumption that no one would fight back, basically. Because I feel like even in this alternate timeline, there would be something, because people, what I've noticed with every major war, there's always been mistakes that were made by the dominating force that wind up changing the turning the tables a little bit, you know. It might take time, but I feel like if there was if there was a creative strategy against something like this, maybe it wouldn't be a problem. Like, it would be less of an issue, meaning, like, you know, they would be able to successfully fight back against something like this in an alternate timeline. I guess, like, if that's, like I said, this is all under the assumption that, you know, no one fought back, everybody lost the wars and stuff surrounding, that are happening in different countries and stuff like that. And this is a very eye-opening video, because I never even thought about what would have happened if World War II took a different turn. This just showed up in my recommended, so I might as well check it out. But you guys let me know what you think in the comments down below. I know it's a very sensitive subject and stuff like that, but I wanted to obviously kind of get an idea of at least the perspective of the person who made this video of what would have happened if that war took a completely different turn. So anyways, that's pretty much it. Hopefully you guys found this interesting, at least, because this was definitely eye-opening. There's some things I definitely was just like, I don't know if that would have happened, but like I said, I'm not a historian, so I can't really say anything. Kind of just look at people's perspectives and make my commentary on that. So that's pretty much it. See you guys soon, and that's pretty much it. Peace. Well, what a pleasure it is to see all of your beautiful faces at the end of this lovely video. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'm sure you know, as I've mentioned in the past, we do have a Discord that's linked in the description down below, and we would love to have you a part of the world's greatest community ever, Bray Gang. Yes, if you've made it to this point in the video, you're officially a part of the community. So go ahead, join the Discord server. Link is in the description down below. And we also have other social media as well, like Instagram, Twitter. We're live. We go live on Twitch quite often as well. So it would behoove you to, go ahead and subscribe to the Twitch channel at twitch.tv/JamesBrayGang. Join the cause and be a part of the greatest, literally the greatest community ever. Okay, it's simple. Just go ahead and do those little things. We're trying to grow on all these little platforms and everything, and it really means a lot. Now, I know you guys stumbled up across the channel and you're like, what does this guy post? Like, what kind of content does he post? Reactions, vlogs, pretty much whatever comes to my mind. All right, it's random content. I don't know what I'm gonna be posting 10 years from now, but I do know that you can stick along for the journey, and it really means a lot. Now, for every single person that subscribes and follows all of the accounts that I have made, and all the links will be in the description down below, that's an automatic entry for any future giveaways I decide to have. I'll remind you when the giveaways take place, but you'll be surprised what I will be giving away, because you guys have supported me so much up to this point, and it's only right that I do the same thing back. Thank you guys so much for being amazing, and I will see you in the next video. Take care. Peace.